Good evening, everyone. Mike Palmer from Know Your Rights Group and Success Coaching International with a very special bonus video update tonight. It's actually been quite a while since I've done a video update on a Sunday night, but given the significance of Friday's Microsoft outage, I thought that it did warrant a special bonus video update tonight. So I've actually been contacted by quite a number of people over the course of the weekend, a lot of them stating to me that they don't watch the mainstream media, but that they'd heard something was going on and was wondering what it was all about. And since they come to the Know Your Rights group for the information that they need, those all came through to me. So others contacted us believing that it was just an isolated outage, maybe at their local shopping centre or their bank. So for those of you who are either unaware of what actually happened or are perhaps unaware of the significant scale of the outage, let me firstly bring you up to speed on what happened and then give you some thoughts on what you can do to try and protect yourselves moving forwards. So in simple terms, there was a fault or an issue with a CrowdStrike security update to Microsoft Windows. Now that resulted in organizations around the entire world facing what's commonly known as the blue screen of death. Anyone who's got a Windows machine, I'm sure, knows what I'm talking about there. And therefore they were just completely unable to operate their computers. Now, here in Australia, this affected major supermarkets such as Coles and Woolworths. Many of them had to shut their doors completely. Others were only able to take payments in cash. So that was very interesting. It also affected a number of the major banks, ANZ, NAB, Bendigo. It also affected airlines, Qantas and Jetstar. There were flights that were grounded in Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. It also affected Telstra, even affected some media outlets like ABC, Sky News and even Channel 10. And it even affected the New South Wales and Victorian police systems. They were down as well. But that was just here in Australia. Globally, it caused absolute havoc. There were flights around the entire world that were grounded. Global financial institutions were impacted, huge national media outlets, courthouses, hospitals, numerous government offices were all significantly impacted. So it really was a monumental outage with really far-reaching ramifications. Now, when you combine the outage on Friday with the fact that the chief security officer of CrowdStrike actually sold $1.4 million worth of shares on the Monday, it does certainly raise a few questions. Now, the obvious question, of course, is why did it happen? Well, as we've seen more times than I can count this year, outages do unfortunately happen for a wide variety of reasons, and that, of course, is one of the major issues with everything going digital like it is nowadays. Now, the reason that this particular outage was such an issue, other than, of course, the worldwide impact that it had, was that it wasn't actually a cybersecurity hack or attack of any kind. It was actually just part of a faulty Windows security update. So that in itself raises even more questions. Who on earth allowed such an important security update to be rolled out on the world's most popular operating system without actually testing and checking it first? And of course, how can we be sure that it won't happen again? Now, obviously, I can't answer the first question in relation to who allowed the update to go out untested, but I can answer the second question, and unfortunately, you're probably not going to like the answer, because the simple fact is that we just cannot guarantee that it won't happen again. And worse still, the reality is it actually has every likelihood of happening again. The fact is that Windows actually updates itself constantly. Most people have their computers set to just auto update, so they're not actually aware of those updates, except when they actually require a computer restart. But again, just think about that in and of itself, how often that happens nowadays. I mean, I remember back, you only ever had to restart your computer maybe every, 3 or 4 months, due to updates. But now it seems to be every few weeks. And obviously with technology changing as rapidly as it currently does, with cybersecurity obviously being an ever increasing issue, these security updates will happen more frequently, and B, they're going to be more significant each and every time that they do happen. So the harsh reality is that it is very likely that we will in fact have another major outage along similar lines at least to what happened on Friday, because at the end of the day, these security updates are created by humans, and as we know, humans make mistakes. So what does all of this mean for you and I? Well, it means a number of things. Firstly, this should be the loudest and clearest message that there has ever been to reduce your digital footprint and reduce your reliance on digital systems as much as possible. Certainly don't be signing up for director IDs and digital IDs and applying for digital licenses and things like that. I would also be thinking very, very carefully about keeping any significant amounts of money in any actual bank accounts. Now, this is something I've spoken about many times before. As far as I can tell, there is little to no upside, nothing positive about keeping your money in a bank account. They pay you a paltry 2 or 3% interest per year, and any claimed safety benefits of keeping your money in a bank rather than keeping it at home are clearly outweighed by these never-ending outages that keep happening week after week, month after month, and year after year, whether it's because of faulty updates or cyber attacks or any other multitude of reasons. I've forgotten how many times I've talked about bank outages, just this year alone. Now, I would suggest getting into something like gold or silver because A, it can be very easily sold and converted back into cash if you need to, and B, it has some intrinsic value in and of itself and can actually be traded, if that became necessary. But look, always keep some cash, some extra cash on hand, just to prepare yourself for the next absolutely inevitable bank outage. It's not a question of if, it's just a question of when. Now, some other ideas. Get some jerry cans. Keep your cars full of fuel. Okay, one of the habits that I just always had all my driving life is that I consider that my car is empty when the gauge gets down to half. It's just something that I've always done. If I see it get down to half, I'm like, okay, now I've got to go and fill it back up again. And then I keep 4 or 5 jerry cans full at all times as well. Now, we saw what happened on Friday. A lot of the Coles or the Shell service stations were actually closed because of the outage. I heard somewhere that 7-Eleven fuel stores were only accepting payments through their app or something like that. And what that meant was that there were other outlets that actually put their prices up by 40 to 50 cents per litre just to capitalise on those who needed fuel desperately but couldn't go anywhere else to get it. Now, again, there's just simply no downsides to keeping your fuel topped up all the time and a lot of upsides to doing so. You can shop around for the best price, on your own time frame rather than having to pull into the first place as soon as the, reserve light comes on. And then when you add a few jerry cans into the mix as well, that multiplies that upside even more. Okay, you just have to keep turning your fuel over in your jerry cans every few weeks, but it is just a really very simple, easy way to protect yourself for when something like this happens again. Another great idea is get a cheap second freezer. Keep it in the garage or the shed or the laundry or whatever works for you, and just keep it full of food. Again, there's no downside to doing this. You're going to eat the food anyway. Just, again, keep turning it over, restocking it every month or two so it doesn't get freezer burn. But again, it's a great backup for when the stores are affected by whatever outage happens next, or when they want to try and play the food shortage card. That's on the that's in the works as well. So again, just think of some of these things. Be sure to take regular backups of your phones and computers, and then keep those backups off-site. Friend's place, family members' home, something like that, so that you've got access to them in case something was ever to happen at your home or your office. The problem is that people only tend to think of these things, once something's happened and it's too late and they've lost everything. Most computers are set to auto backup anyway, especially for things like emails and documents. But even if you have to do it manually, it really doesn't take that long. But please, for one thing, don't be sitting there thinking, oh, but I've got automatic backup to the cloud, so I'm safe. Okay, that's the whole point I'm trying to make. Nothing up in the cloud or on someone else's servers is safe. You need to be in control of your data, not somebody else. Okay, look, the reality is that technology will continue to keep changing faster than ever before, and there will be more security issues moving forwards, not less. Okay, there's going to be more outages moving forwards, not less. I mentioned before, I've reported on more major outages just this year, and we're only in July, than I have on the previous 3 years combined. That's how regularly these outages, cyber attacks, hacks, whatever, keep happening. And again, it's only going to get worse. So please start thinking seriously about some simple things that you can do to make your life a little bit easier when the next inevitable outage happens for whatever reason. Now, speaking of thinking, a number of people have emailed through, sent through messages thanking me for the detailed discussion that I did on the Trump shooting on my last video update on Thursday night. People have commented that it's really sort of helped them with their thinking process and working out their own ideas, whatever they may be. And that's fantastic feedback because, of course, that's exactly why I do these regular video updates, to get people thinking. So if you did miss that video update for whatever reason, please do make sure that you do lock in a time to watch it. It's already been viewed over 20,000 times across YouTube and Facebook in just the last 3 days. So it has been a very popular video. Now, to everybody out there that has been making comments and everything on the videos, claiming that the Trump shooting was all orchestrated, it was all done by crisis actors and things like that. There's been a lot of people commenting that. My question to you is simply this: why? Why go to all of the trouble to stage this, to get crisis actors involved and all this stuff, when he was clearly already massively in the lead? It just doesn't make any sense to me, at least. Okay, I'm well aware of crisis actors for false flag operations, the Sandy Hook shooting, the Vegas shooting, all those sorts of things, but they were mostly to do with gun control and trying to push that agenda. I mean, Trump's got no such agenda, so why go to such trouble to put on a show like that? Anyway, I don't know. As always, I'll leave it up to you guys to draw your own conclusions. But I'll tell you one thing. Watch this space, because if the rumours that are circulating come true, it looks like Hillary might be coming back into the fold, and that could make things certainly very interesting. So we'll see how that all develops. All right, so just before I wind up tonight, again, a very quick reminder that our first and final ever live events are on in Townsville this coming weekend, the 26th, 27th and 28th of July. So if you are in Townsville or can get to Townsville or know anyone in Townsville, please make sure you lock in your seats sooner rather than later for those events. They are the one and only events that we're doing, and we do need everyone booked in as soon as possible, because we're actually flying up on Thursday this week. So on that point, on Thursday night, Darren, Daryl and myself will be doing a very special live video update live from Townsville, so do make sure you tune in for that. And of course, the final event that we'll have will be in Perth in mid-September, and again, they will be our final live 2.5 day events for the foreseeable future, as we move on to a very different format next year with webinars rather than actual live events. So as always, I'm going to finish off tonight with the latest memes to keep people thinking. This one is should be pretty obvious. We've mentioned it many times before, but remember, when the internet goes down, you can always rely on cash. Yes, this is an interesting one too, and it makes, it's a great question and makes a lot of sense. As it says, why is a surcharge on cards a percentage of the transaction? Surely it costs the same to process a $10 payment as it does a $100 payment. Once again, the bank's gouging, making as much as they can. Yes, well, as I said, we'll see what happens with this one, whether the Hillary rumours come true. You can see good old Obama there saying maybe it's time to call it a day, Joe. And he's like, oh, but I'm just waiting for a sign. I mean, how many more signs do you reckon this bloke needs before he gets the message? Anyway, we'll wait and see. Yes, and the sloped roof is still doing the rounds. Here's one, so I'm going to install these at my home to protect me against a raid from the Secret Service. And then there's another one saying that, oh yes, no, safety issue, couldn't put the snipers on the roof, but perfectly okay for someone to get up there with a hose and wash down the evidence and make it all nice and slippery. So go figure, who knows. Now, the last one's not actually a meme, but it is something that I want to bring to everybody's attention. This is an email that just came through about all of the cyber attacks that are going on our website. So clearly there are people out there that really don't like us. They really don't like the information we're putting out there, and they really don't like the stuff that we're sharing with people. So it says there that they've blocked 137 attacks in just 10 minutes. Over the weekend. So if you have been considering getting any of our products for any reason but been putting it off, now might be a good time, because again, remember, once you've got those products, once you've got our book, for example, okay, it's there, it's physical, you can flip through it, you can read it, you can get the CD, you can pop it in your computer, and it's there. You don't need to connect to the internet or anything like that. So make sure you grab our Know Your Rights book, grab that Aussie Speeding Fines book if you don't have that, if you want to challenge any fines, grab the Bank Secrets book if you're struggling financially, you want to know the step-by-step process for discharging any unsecured debts, things like that. These are great. You'll find in the description there a link to these, and there's a combo pack that you can get as well. But speaking of keeping things backed up, please, these are a really, really great idea. They are a USB, CD, DVD drive. You can put any of our discs or any other discs that you might have in there. You put a USB into the top. And again, we do have our brand new USB drives with a USB-A and USB-C slot. So you can put all of the data on there. You can tuck this away into a bookshelf so you don't actually lose the little drive. And it's a great way to keep everything backed up for the future. So I'm going to leave things there for tonight. Hope you enjoyed this evening's update. As I said, we will be back with a special video on Thursday night live from Townsville. And we do, of course, have another live radio show this Tuesday night. So be sure to tune in for that as well. Otherwise, we'll talk to you all next week.